Hello, Becky Duff here. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. I am here to do a little Edmonton vlog shopping haul, book haul video. We went to Edmonton over the weekend and of course I went book shopping while I was there. I didn't get very much B-roll, but I got a little bit. And then we're going to dive into what books I bought while I was there.
Peach, that's not a bird, that's Rylan. One, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four, five. You got all the rocks?
So I just got this pile of books here. I have been trying to track how much I spend on my books this year. So I had the receipts out and everything, and I was writing it in my tracking thing in my journal. And I just put them all in this basket so I would know where they were so I could do this quick book haul and then find somewhere on my shelves to put them. So I'm just going to grab them and go through them. We stopped at Goodwill, Value Village, and Chapters, and one other used bookstore, the Wee Book Inn. So I will grab this first pile. So if you shop at Value Village, you can get 4 books and then you get the 5th one free. The 5th book I believe I got was a kid's book, so I don't have it on me here. The kids probably took it and are reading it. So these are the 4 books I picked up from Value Village. So I found Tom Harris, The Silence of the Lambs, and if you watched my other book haul video from Edmonton, I found the first one of this, which is something about dragons, the Red Dragon or something like that. And this is the second one in the series. I think there's now 4 books in this series, but I watched Silence of the Lambs when I was like 12, 13 years old, probably way too young to be watching a movie like that, and I haven't seen it since. I just know it's about this serial killer and Hannibal Lecter and somebody who like wears women's faces or something. So I am thinking I want to read at least the first 2, since those are the 2 I have, in October. And this was for $3.99. And then I also picked up the next book I need in the Outlander series for A Breath of Snow and Ashes. This is a chunker. I've been collecting these like paperback versions, the like mass market paperback kind. And this was also, I got this for $3.99. I have a book before this one that I have to listen to or read before I get to this one, but this was the next one I have to buy. It is over 1,400 pages long. So yeah, this has been a journey for sure. I started re-listening to these last year and it takes me forever to get through one of these. The last audiobook was 44 and a half hours long. So this is quite the time commitment, but I am glad that I got the next one. And then I also, just trying to get the 4 books to get the 5th one free kind of thing, I decided to pick up a Michael Crichton because one of my favorite books or duology is Jurassic Park and The Lost World. And I read another book by Michael Crichton last year, the year before, called Next, which had to do with this like very intelligent, I think a chimpanzee. It could like talk and was a lot closer to being human than being chimp, I think. And it was really interesting, but it wasn't as good as Jurassic Park. But I'm hoping to pick up another Michael Crichton and see how I like it. So this one is Prey. And I think those are bugs, or meant to be bugs, or some kind of strain. And Value Village does this lovely thing where they put the sticker right over the plot. So in the Nevada desert, an experiment has gone horribly wrong. A cloud of nanoparticles, something robots, has escaped from the laboratory. So I have no idea what's going on in this book, but nanoparticles, robots escaping a laboratory, and something and self-reproducing. For all practical purposes, it is alive. So I don't know if putting the sticker over the summary of the book is a good thing. It definitely makes it sound even more intriguing to figure out what it is that is alive and reproducing and what these robots are. So I don't know when I will get to this, but it's on the bookshelf now. So I was listening to Sajid from Books Are My Social Life, and he was talking about the best books that he has read so far this year, and one of them was called The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly, which is translated from the Korean, I believe, and I found it at Value Village very randomly. This was $5.99. It's such a random book, like that he was talking about. It's translated. He is from the Caribbean. This was translated from Korean, I believe I said. Yes, translated from the Korean by Chi Young Kim. And this is from Sun Mi Hwang. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. Yeah, this was just so random. I decided I had to grab it since I happened to see it there. This is the story of a hen named Sprout. No longer content to lay eggs on command, only to have them carted off to the market, she glimpses her future every morning through the barn doors, where the other animals roam free, and comes up with a plan to escape into the wild, and to hatch an egg of her own. An anthem of freedom, individuality, and motherhood featuring a plucky, spirited heroine who rebels against the tradition-bound world of the barnyard. The Hen Who Dreamed She Could Fly is a novel of universal resonance that also opens a window on Korea, where it has captivated millions of readers, and with its array of animal characters, the hen, the duck, the rooster, the dog, the weasel, it calls to mind such classics in English as Animal Farm and Charlotte's Web. It looks fairly short as well, so hopefully I'll be able to get to this one. And then I stopped at Goodwill, and Goodwill's prices... Value Village used to price their books like, if the Canadian price was $10, then we charge you this amount of money. If the price was $15, we charge you this amount of money. Now they individually price every one of their books. So it's kind of annoying. The Goodwill prices their books, like general category books, $2, and then children's soft color book was $1.50. So I picked up Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which I read last year or the year before. Raylene from Books Unbound was talking about this and how she listened to it. I think she listened to it as an audiobook. I listened to it as an audiobook, I know that. But she wanted the physical copy to be able to like reread and take notes, highlight, whatever. And since this was only $2, it's sticky. Since it's only $2, I decided I would grab it and I can do a reread in the future or go through it. And it's a hard read for sure. Chanel Miller was sexually assaulted. In this powerful, gutsy memoir, Miller, the sexual assault survivor in the Stanford case, reclaims her name and her story. So if you don't know, Chanel Miller was sexually assaulted at Stanford, and through the whole thing, she was just known as basically Jane Doe, Emily Doe. And through the trial, through all of it, she was known as Emily Doe, and this is her way of reclaiming who she is, her identity as Chanel Miller. There was several copies there. This was the one in the best condition, and I figured I would grab it. It is a difficult read. Definitely look up trigger warnings, mostly pertaining to sexual assault. I don't know when I will get to this book again, since I have already read it, but I'm glad to have it on my shelf and have it there as a reference and be able to go back to. My kids are really into graphic novels lately, and I saw this Fake Blood. It's heavy. And I grabbed it because it is in her debut middle grade graphic novel. And this is about vampires. So I thought I'd grab it. It was $1.50. Normally $20, $19.99 in Canada. So if the kids don't like it, they don't like it. I don't know if I will read it or not. I might. I do enjoy graphic novels, and middle grade graphic novels, middle grade books in general, they hit harder. There's just something about middle grade that's a hard read. This might be interesting, maybe around Halloween. It starts like, it's the beginning of a new school year. And AJ feels like everyone is changing but him. He hasn't grown nor had any exciting summer adventures like his best friends have. He even has the same crush he harbored for years. So AJ decides to take matters into his own hands. But how could a girl like Nina Winters ever like plain vanilla AJ when she only has eyes for vampires? So this is at the beginning of school and has vampires in it, so maybe it'll be like a September, October read. And then I went to Chapters and just had a little time by myself with my dog. And when I first walked in the door, there was this woman there at her table and selling a book. She had 2 books, and I picked up one. It sounded really, really interesting. She's a local author, so from Alberta, and it's called No Really, Where Are You From? Personal Stories of Chinese Identity, Retention, and Loss by Nancy Nig? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Here on the back. I'll just read the back what it says. She tells the insightful true stories of how 8 Chinese individuals, including herself, young and old and from various economic backgrounds, negotiated being a visible minority in mainstream Canada. With insight and inspiration, Nig writes of these remarkable people's experiences with their Chinese culture from childhood to adulthood. It not only discusses the importance of global migration and its impact on ethnic identity, it also tells the stories of those who have first-hand experience of the issue. Ethnic identity retention and loss is never black and white. It is constantly reshaping and redefining itself. So I think this will be a really interesting read too, as it is local, it's Canadian, and from Alberta. A lot of the Canadian reads I read are from like Ontario, Toronto. For those who don't know, Toronto is the big city in Ontario, or one of the big cities. It's like the capital. Yeah, so I think this will be a really interesting read. Besides this, I went to their sales stuff because I wasn't planning on spending like a whole ton of money. And I saw The Word is Murder by Anthony Horowitz, which said 50% off, and then it was like $6. And I don't know if they gave me, like, this should have been $3. And I don't know if they gave me the $3 price or the $6 price, but that's okay. I think I've heard of this one. It sounded interesting. One bright spring morning in London, Diana Cowper, the wealthy mother of a famous actor, enters a funeral parlor. She is there to plan her own service. 6 hours later, she is found dead in her own home, strangled with a curtain cord. Enter disgraced police detective Daniel Hawthorne, a brilliant, eccentric investigator who is as quick with an insult as he is to crack a case. Hawthorne needs a ghostwriter to document his life, a Watson to his Holmes. He chooses Anthony Horowitz. So I thought this was interesting because, like, the author's name is Anthony Horowitz. That was part of the reason why I wanted to pick it up, because, like, the main character in here, or one of the main characters, the Watson character, name is the author's name. And I actually checked to see, I was like, is this a nonfiction? But it says fiction on the back. So, drawn in against his will, Horowitz soon finds himself at the center of a story he cannot control. Hawthorne is brisk, temperamental, and annoying, but even so, his latest case, with its many twists and turns, proves irresistible. The writer and the detective form an unusual partnership, but it soon becomes clear that Hawthorne is hiding some dark secrets of his own. A masterful and tricky mystery that springs many surprises. The Word is Murder is Anthony Horowitz at his very best. So comment down below if you have read this book, if you've read Anthony Horowitz before, and let me know if it's any good. It sounds interesting and maybe even funny. And then I also picked up Era of Ignition, Coming of Age in a Time of Rage and Revolution by Amber Tamlin. And the reason why I picked this up was because her name sounded really familiar. So I looked her up, and she's from the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. She also plays a small role in House as well. So she's the author of 3 books of poetry, including the bestseller Dark Sparkler and the novel Any Man. I literally just watched Katie Colson talking about Any Man and her vlog reading Any Man on YouTube. Turned it off and then came over here to record this. As I was saying her name, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that the name of the author of Any Man? And that is on my list not next to read, but to buy. Any Man sounds like it's a really difficult read, but a really good and powerful read. So I imagine this would be really interesting as well. And I got it because it had like a $3 sticker on it, and it was supposed to be 50% off that. Again, I think I may have paid the full $3, but that's okay. And then the last place I went and book I got was from a local bookstore in Edmonton called the Wee Book Inn. It's a used bookstore, and they were having their 50th anniversary. It was established in 1971. It's been a long time since I've been in the Wee Book Inn, so maybe they've just had the bags for a while. But anyways, yeah, it says right on the bag 50th. Learn to read, Becky. And they always have a cat, and this cat was modeled after another cat that they had, and they have a new cat now, but it kind of looks the same, I guess. The cat was hiding when we were there, but I just really love this bag, and it's really big. Like, they had a mug or this bag, and I was like, I have too many mugs, I have too many bags, but I'm gonna go with the bag. It's a little bit more practical. The book I got was James Rowland's The Demon Crown, which is a Sigma Force novel, I guess. It was on sale for $7. The reason why I got James Rowland's is because 16 years ago, I was reading just like whatever. I'd go to the bookstore, pick things up off the tables that were there, have a look, and be like, that sounds interesting. And I grabbed a couple of James Rowland's books, and I loved them. And I have since gotten away from reading them and just getting into other stuff. And now that I've discovered BookTube a few years ago, like 4 years ago, I've been seeing more like what's really popular and what everyone else is reading. And I'm like, I want to read that too. Where before it was more like I would read popular books, but it was more me going to the bookstore and looking around and seeing what looked interesting to me. So I'm like, I want to go back to the books and the authors I was enjoying before, even if they're not popular on YouTube, even if I am in the minority of liking those books, even if they're old white men. And I am reading more diversely, and that is good. And I've discovered some great authors and great books. I will continue to read diversely, of course, and trying new authors. But I also want to read from the authors I know that I have loved in the past and not get so far away from the reading that I used to really enjoy. So that is my James Rowland's book. Yeah, I'm excited to jump into this one. His one book, I think it was called Excavation, that I read. I loved it so much I made my husband read it. And I don't do that very often. So yes, I'm excited to dive back into some James Rowland's books. Anyways, that was my trip to Edmonton. That was my book haul. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what is the most recent book you purchased lately, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.